What is going on, everybody? Anon here, and I want to talk about the lost art of doing nothing. And this is one of the Charlie Munger things, one of his sayings, and it's when you don't know what to do, doing nothing is okay. You don't have to force a trade, and I think that's one of the challenges I see with a lot of folks, just in the market in general, YouTubers, etc. Is everybody wants to force a trade. They want to look for the next hot thing. They want to look for value. What's going to move? What's not going to move? And in this market, you have to ask yourself, with each one of these products, is it more likely to go up than go down in the next 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, whatever your time horizon is? Um, and I think we're at the point where, generally speaking, the odds of the products, especially the newer ones, being at or lower than what they are today in the next 12 months is probably greater than the odds of them being more. So let's talk about Phantasmal Flames. Obviously, this set comes out in, what is it, 3 weeks? It obviously has the SIR Charizard. It has the Gold Charizard. In Japanese, the cards are going absolutely crazy. But outside of those two cards, there's really not a whole lot of other bangers in the set. And we've seen a couple sets come out right around the 300 range, or really trade here a couple weeks before release. Journey, Destined, Mega One, obviously, and now Phantasmal Flames, and they've all retraced to some extent. Now, obviously, Destined's gone crazy from where it's at, but we haven't seen more than the second wave of the first print run for that. So none of these sets have gotten a reprint, even a small reprint, restock, whatever. So if I were to buy Phantasmal Flames today, the odds of this being at 2 times MSRP, MSRP penis, whatever you want to call it, in the next 6 to 12 months, I think are far lower than what it is to be below this price. Because ultimately, if you're the Pokemon company, whether you care that they're overpriced or not, this isn't healthy for access to the next generation. And we all know that Pokemon companies, they don't manage quarter to quarter like our friends at Hasbro do, where they make stupid decisions to keep their jobs. These guys are managing, block by block, generation by generation. It's insane. And quite honestly, the Japanese culture is just far different than the American culture. And then there's a lot of pros and there's a lot of cons, and it is what it is. But even if you think about it outside the vacuum of whether they reprint or don't reprint, the odds of the market staying as hot as it is today, or more hot than it is today, for the next 12 months is probably less than the odds of it cooling off, just based on the passage of time and people getting distracted and and doing other things. So if you want to buy Phantasmal to open, that's fine. If you can get it a deal, we just ran our sale to premium. I think we sold it at $13.49 for a case, so $2.25 a box. And distro price is up like 10 or 12 bucks a box on these, which is fine. Yeah, they have to make money too. So if it's a deal where you can buy it on the cheap, you have far less downside risk, those are deals worth doing. But buying cases of this and putting it away, you don't have to do it. You can do nothing. If I had $323, do I want to force it into a set that I know is most likely overpriced relative to where it should be? Now, obviously, it's inflated because of the market. Or do I want to take that $323 and just sit it in cash and wait for an opportunity to come to me as opposed to forcing it? I would set it in cash and just wait. Again, the art of doing nothing is far less risky and is far more beneficial than the art of forcing cash into a set like Phantasmal Flames. Let's go to Mega. Similar situation. So we're getting the second wave here, and I'm actually surprised that the second wave has had this much impact on the price of the product. I think, the sell-through is obviously, I think the sell-through is obviously a little bit lower than what I thought, or there's just a lot of it coming to market to capitalize on the price. I'm sure it's going to stop and it's going to rebound. But again, you have a new block that doesn't rotate. These sets don't rotate out until 2028. So we are at the early portion of 2.5 years of these being in print. And again, the market in a year will not be what the market is today. And the odds of it being more hot than today are probably lower than what the odds are of the market being cooler than what it is today. And again, that's just the facts. Like when time passes, things revert to the mean. And we are not in the new norm. We're not in the mean. Now, $100, $110 booster box, that was not normal either. That was overshot to the downside. But do you want to take $269 and force it into a Mega Evolutions box? And good. Look, I don't think it's a bad buy right now. I also wouldn't want to hold this for 6 months because the odds of it being lower than what it is now in 6 months is greater, in my opinion, than the odds of it being higher than this. So again, you don't have to do anything. Destined Rivals at $400. We could talk about the same thing. Look, the value of the cards in the set is quite good, but we're getting a lot of packs into the market. We have the Salamence and Reshiram coming out. We have the Latias EX boxes that just came out. Every little EX box and tin that's coming out has Destined Rivals packs. So just keep in the back of your head what happened to Surging Sparks and the singles in Surging Sparks. There was so much Surging Sparks that came out. Granted, there were multiple waves of reprints for booster boxes, but it certainly, it certainly kept the price down on the singles for Surging Sparks, and it's going to most likely happen with Destined Rivals. So again, what are the odds? Are the odds greater in 6 to 12 months that the price is over $391 or under $391? I would argue, since again, this set doesn't rotate out until April of 2028, because Journey Together On are 2028. Prismatic Back to Temporal are 2027. And then obviously Paldean Fates, Paradox, backward through Scarlet and Violet Base are April of 2026, which you should always be cognizant of that, because once you get across the rotation out, the risk of a reprint and getting smashed and getting your face ripped off is far, far lower. It's approaching zero at that point. It's certainly not zero, but it's approaching zero. So let's move on. So Surging Sparks, this is a set that rotates out in April of 2027. It's damn close to a year old now. You're still sitting at $269. The question is what is the catalyst for these boxes to move in a meaningful way? If you buy a case of this at presumably $1,700, $1,800, whatever the market is, what are the odds that it doubles in the next year? Probably not great. The odds of this being flat or down versus the odds of it doubling are far greater. It's certainly on the risk reward scenario, you're better off taking the $269 and just sitting it in an account on the side and just wait for the market to come to you. And it's lost in so many people because everybody feels the need for the adrenaline rush, the action, got to buy, got to sell. You don't have to do anything. And this is one of those times where the risk reward is tilted against you, and it's tilted in the favor of those who own the product. Look, I have a bunch of cases of Surging Sparks. I'm not going to sell them because I don't see a whole lot of downside. I also don't see a whole lot of upside. But if I sell them, what am I going to put the money in? Unless I'm going to put it in S&P 500, some other asset, it's just as good being in this product. But I'm not going to put more money in the product because I don't know what's going to happen to the market. And the most important thing when it comes to buying assets that you're expecting to appreciate in value, you don't want to gamble. You want to buy things where you know what the outcome is going to be. That's why most of you who are listening are in Pokemon. Everybody knows that every set in the history of Pokemon so far, knock on wood, has gone up in value over time. You know that is going to happen, at least until it doesn't. But for now, that has always happened. Now, there's always spikes, bubbles, and plummets in the market. And you don't have to avoid them because given a long enough time frame, all of these sets go up. But you also don't have to sink good money into these new sets where the risk reward is really against you. So again, you can choose to do nothing and you're probably better off. If you do nothing and you're still sitting on, call it $400 instead of Destined, and 6 months from now, Destined's still at $375, guess what? You took no risk. You're at the same spot. So it doesn't, now it's far less fun, but it's far more intelligent to do that. And then let's look at Twilight. So this is another set that rotates out in April of 2027. This is $315. $315 is a fair price if this set was going to rotate out in 4 months or 5 months. This set doesn't rotate out for another 15 months. The ETBs just got absolutely annihilated. They went from $110 down to like $66 because they dump product on the market. That's not to say they're going to do it with booster boxes, but there is risk that they will. And this is one of those sets where there isn't enough sell-through to absorb a significant amount of supply. So if they dump 250,000 booster boxes into the market, this is going to be under $200 before you know it. Now, I don't think it's going to go back to MSRP because people are going to start to buy it. But the odds of this box being meaningfully more expensive in 6 to 12 months than where it is today is far less, at least in my opinion, than it being the same or lower, or it's just dead money and you put money to risk or money to work at risk and you just get no benefit. So again, the art of doing nothing is something that I think in this market that almost all of us should do. There's no need to sell and you give up upside because most of us who own product, we're already multiple percentage points ahead. And there's no reason to put more money to work because the prices of all this new stuff are so toppy. Again, the cost benefit is working against us. And then look at something, I just want to finish on this. Look at something like the Charizard Ultra Premium Collection. It has 18 packs in it. It has a couple promos that are going to be bangers. The market price on these right now is $300. Do you think in 6 to 12 months, it's more likely to be $200 or more likely to be $450? In my mind, it's more likely to be $200 because to get to $450, the underlying sets have to be $500 booster boxes just to support that value. And what are the odds that Surging, Destined, Mega 1, and Mega 2 are all at $500 in 6 months? The odds of that in my mind are far greater or far less than them being under $300, in which case the ETBs or the UPCs somewhere between $200 and $250, which is probably the floor. So again, nobody has to do anything. If you're an adrenaline junkie, bet on sports. You don't have to put hundreds or thousands of dollars to work chasing products that quite honestly have a terrible risk reward based on where they're priced in the market right now and where we're at in a little bit of a consolidation period and a lull period. And look, if things go up 20% tomorrow, you missed out, but you didn't risk anything. If things go down 40% and there actually is a little bit of a soft spot here and an air pocket and a little bit of a sell-off, you're going to be pissed off because all of a sudden this $300 box is going to be $240. You didn't have to take the risk. You chose to because you wanted to be part of the action. It's not a wise move. And again, it's why the art of doing nothing is oftentimes better than doing something. So anyway, guys, a little bit of a different video tonight. I haven't heard anybody talk about this. Everybody's trying to force action one way or another. Just do nothing. You don't have to do anything. Just watch the market from afar, smile, and opportunity will come. And it will come in due time. Just don't be impatient. So anyway, guys, like the video, subscribe to the channel, join the Discord, and we'll talk tomorrow.